Hi, I'm Justin Raymond with Repair Shop Websites, and today I'm going to be providing advice on the best ways to spend the limited time you have on big picture shop management challenges. I'm sure it seems like there are dozens of companies out there that all want to tell you the best way to run your business. Some of those suggestions are well founded, some are less so. But either way, I'm guessing it's always like the suggestions have a lot to do with buying the company's new product or service. What I'm going to do something a little different today. I'm going to tell you what the research shows. We've gathered data on what really keeps small businesses from operating at their full potential. As someone managing or working in small business like yourself, I bet the findings from these studies aren't going to surprise you too much. The other thing we've tried to do is make recommendations that aren't going to eat your entire work week. We know that for most small and medium-sized independent repair shops, the owner doesn't have time to think about business strategy all day. You've got to keep the shop running day to day. And in many cases, you got to help your team to get cars in and out of the shop. So we're not going to be offering any 24-step plans for business success today. So with that, let's dive in. First, a couple items we won't be talking about much today. Technically, the two biggest problems reported by small businesses are high taxes and too much government regulation. I'm sorry, but I can't get rid of your taxes or government red tape. The only good news I have is that if you find a way to do this, you'll have a lucrative consulting side job that will make you rich very quickly. Please give us a call and let us in on your secret. Beyond those two unconquerable challenges, the latest challenges are finding great employees and managing cash flow. It doesn't seem like it, but these issues have a couple of things in common. Both of them can be deceiving if they aren't closely followed. A business can survive with either problem for a period of time before it really bites you hard. While either a terrible employee or a consistently unprofitable shop will be immediately obvious, a just okay employee or a highly variable profitability probably won't be the most urgent thing you deal with in any given day. They are problems that fester and slow you down over years or decades. Second, there aren't the types of problems that can be fixed simply by buying a new piece of equipment or hiring a new service provider. Sure, you could pay to post your job in more places online, but if you're posting the same job description, it's probably not going to get you past your hurdle. And while there are plenty of shop management programs or accounting tools that give you an easier view to your profitability, they can't magically make the numbers add up every month. You've got to invest some time in building the right kind of environment and the right kind of processes. We'll also briefly cover when it might make sense to consider a training, coaching, or mentoring relationship. Something that's time and resource intensive, but can offer big long-term advantages if it's something you're willing to commit to. First, let's talk about the Great Employee Challenge. Every year, the National Federation of Independent Business conducts a survey to figure out what's really a thorn in the side of their members. In July, they asked around 800 members what their single largest problem was. For 23% of them, it was finding qualified workers. Now, that's for all types of small businesses. Repair shops have it really hard. That's because, according to another study by tool manufacturer Rigid, only 6% of high schoolers are considering a job in the skilled trades. 6%. That 6% is shared with electrical companies, plumbers, carpentry, all sorts of jobs. With so few new technicians coming in, there's more and more competition for the ones that are already out there. That level of shortage can lead to desperation when you lose a technician. It's tempting to fill the spot when you have an opportunity before the potential employee disappears and you don't have another one come around for a while. But this is where Jim Collins provides some really great advice. Jim Collins wrote a book called Good to Great. If you're interested in business reading, it's actually a very good book. One of the most recommended books out there. The author is a business school professor at the University of Colorado, and he worked with a research team of 20 people, gathering every piece of data he could collect from hundreds of companies to try and identify the similarities between the best performing ones. He was looking for what makes a company great, using one of the biggest data sets ever compiled. A lot of the findings were surprising, the opposite of what he expected to find, in fact. But the most important finding about hiring is that it's more important to get the right kind of person than the person with the right kind of experience. In his words, the best performing businesses first got the right people on the bus and then figured out where to drive it. In some cases, CEOs at giant companies would lose millions of dollars while they carefully assembled a great team. At least one risked his job due to his slow speed. But these are the companies that achieved great things in the coming decades after they got their teams in place. The best companies hire slow and fire fast, making sure that only the great employees hang around. They were far more comfortable being short-staffed than they were being staffed with low performers. What makes for a great employee for your shop? What does their work ethic look like? Their sense of being part of a team, their desire to outperform, always doing what's right. If you get the right employee, they can help you deal with whatever challenges you encounter. If you get the wrong employee, they will be the challenge, eating up all the time you could be using to manage your shop for the benefit of yourself, your employees, and your customers. Once you have a good idea of what type of people you want working at your company, you can go about hiring them. But remember that with the shortage of technicians the industry is facing, it's not going to be easy to attract the best employees. In fact, your job solicitations will need to sell your shop. Describe the type of work environment employees can expect when they come to work at your shop. Tell them about the perks and tell them what they can expect from fellow technicians. High performers want to be surrounded with high performers. The same goes for integrity, customer focus, and truly caring about their coworkers. If you can create that environment, advertise that environment, and demonstrate that environment, you'll attract the right kind of people to your shop. It may not happen immediately, but it will happen. Both our internal research and the research that other companies have done consistently shows that hiring is a major problem for repair shops. We put time into helping shops with this. We have webinars focused on this topic. We have infographics. And we have also provided detailed, pre-constructed job descriptions that can be put on our customers' websites or posted on job boards. Although we would definitely encourage you to improve the posting by updating it to show what really makes your shop a great place. Hiring will continue to be a major challenge for the industry. So it's definitely worth your time to go ahead and find some technicians that will want to hang around for the long haul and to create an environment where they still feel the same way several years from now. The second challenge I mentioned was managing cash flow. A little background on this. The Corporation for Enterprise Development did a survey of over 900 companies with 5 or fewer employees to take a look at business financial needs. Now, I'm sure that there are people on this webinar today at businesses that have few more than 5 employees. But most of you probably fit in the small business category, and most individual shops aren't going to have 30 employees. So this data is probably still relevant to your business. 55% of those surveyed indicated that they could only cover a single month's business expenses with their savings. Just under 40% of survey respondents said they sometimes lacked the cash on hand to meet their business expenses. So if you find yourself in a similar situation, rest assured that there are many others in the same boat. Most small businesses don't have millions of dollars in the bank to handle whatever emergency they might have next week. Most small businesses are full of hardworking people who aren't rich and aren't expecting to be rich 5 years from now, even though that would be nice. That makes cash flow all the more important. Having highly variable cash flow or a poor handle on your cash flow has some obvious direct effects. It affects how much you can plan on being able to get the supplies you need. It affects your employees' perceptions of their job safety. And just as importantly, the added stress this puts on the business owner reduces when you're able to accomplish each day. A major negative secondary effect. There are hundreds of sophisticated tips to build a bigger cash flow management system. But again, we know you don't have time to spend your entire working week on cash flow. So let's talk about inputs, outputs, and budgeting. First, make sure you're measuring what's coming in the door. Different shops use different metrics. Select a few that seem to matter the most to your shop. Set some targets, and make sure that everyone on your staff is invested in meeting them. Here are a few of the most common. Car count. How many cars are you seeing in a week? Productivity. How many of your technicians' hours are being billed to someone for labor? Efficiency. If you bill someone for 2 hours of labor for a job, how many hours does it take your technician to complete it? Parts versus labor. Of the money coming into your shop, how much of it is lower profit part sales and how much of it is high profit labor? If you have a monthly goal and you're measuring, posting, and talking about your progress towards meeting that goal, you'll have far better odds of meeting that goal. Remember that you don't have to totally transform the way your shop is doing business in order to track a few of these and aim for continual improvement. Another thought on revenue. It's much easier to plan for success if you're getting a good amount of recurring revenue. Those are the customers you've already built relationships with, the ones that predictably come in for regular maintenance. Everyone is pushing regular maintenance hard these days because the big expensive parts of cars, the engines, the transmissions, that type of thing, are lasting longer than ever before. But this regular maintenance customer doesn't just bring in more revenue. They bring in more reliable revenue, which is honestly even more valuable than the unexpected great profitability that the big repairs can bring your way. Next, manage the money going out of your shop. Remember that the companies charging the most for their products can afford the best salespeople. Before you purchase an expensive new piece of equipment or pay thousands every month for a new marketing service, ask them to let you talk with some of their customers and see actual real results. If there's no guarantee, try to avoid signing any contracts. Unfortunately, small businesses don't have the time to wait a year or longer to see results from any investment. It needs to pay for itself relatively quickly. Also, try to plan for major expenses and make sure you're putting money away during low expense months to lighten the load on those high expense months. If you don't plan for those big expensive items and get stuck paying for them on a high interest credit card because you didn't have the cash on hand, the interest payments will set you back even further. The last thing I wanted to mention was training, coaching, and mentoring programs. If you are able to dedicate more than a few hours a week to higher level management and you like to see major improvements in your shop, one of these programs is a great way to bring the best business practices into your shop. Think of it as an ASE Master Tech certification for the business side of your shop. Unfortunately, that comparison is pretty accurate when talking about the commitment level required. These programs are not cheap, so in order to see a return on investment, you have to put a significant amount of time and effort into building the processes they recommend into shop operations. A major focus of these programs is measuring and improving efficiency. If you're not a metrics-driven shop, then it's definitely going to take some work to get there. When we asked our own shops if they had been part of a coaching or mentoring program, about 1/3 of them had been, either in the past or present. The opinions were mostly positive. And when we asked these people the most valuable information they received, the most common answer was the list of changes they made due to the training so long that they really couldn't boil it down just to a few items. But there were some participants that felt like the time and money requirements were just too high, and the recommendations weren't realistic for their shops. If you're interested in learning more about whether this might make sense for your shop, give us a call. We're happy to talk a little more with you about what types of shops normally make a good fit for these programs and which shops don't benefit as much. Just to review some of the information we went over today. Most small, medium-sized shop owners don't have time to focus exclusively on business management because too much needs to get done around the shop. When you can dedicate some time to big picture business management, two places to start are the two biggest challenges small businesses face today: finding great employees and managing cash flow. Finding great employees is more important than finding experienced people. Great employees will put the effort into learning what they need to learn in order to be successful. It's hard enough to find technicians of any type, good or bad. So if you really want the good ones, you're going to need to make your shop a great place to work and sell that greatness when you're advertising job openings. If you have great employees, managing your cash flow is going to be much easier. That's because once you've explained to them why it's important for the whole team to track results and meet your goals, they'll be on board. By measuring business coming in the door and managing the expenses going out the door, you'll be able to plan for those bigger expenses that come from time to time. That's important because it's way easier to stay ahead on that type of stuff than it is to catch up after the fact. Finally, if you're looking at your shop and you feel like you really want to invest some time and money into building an organized, efficient process, it might make sense to consider a mentoring, training, or coaching relationship. If you aren't sure if that makes sense for you, give us a call and we'll be happy to give you our opinion. I hope this has been helpful for you as you consider where to spend the limited time you have to manage your shop. If you have any questions about anything I've covered, you can contact us using the contact information provided on your screen right now. We offer one of these webinars each month to repair shop owners and other people in the automotive industry. So stay tuned for another Repair Shop Websites webinar next month. Have a great day.